let's look at question number 71. What are the key difference between Windows 365 and Azure Virtual Desktop? I'm sure if you are going to work in Microsoft 365 and your organization uses Windows 365 or AVD or Azure Virtual Desktop, they will definitely ask this question to you. So please learn this. This is kind of like a common question. First of all, let me help you understand what is the main difference. Main difference is fixed pricing on a subscription based model versus pay as you go. Windows 365 is a fixed pricing model. You buy a license and you assign a license to the user. You can anticipate what price it is. It is fixed. You can easily calculate within your budget and things like that. That is not going to change. AVD is a pay as you go because you are building it from scratch. So it can be volatile unless you have a fine-tuned, well-defined, optimized environment with a lot of automation. Very difficult to predict the price. So that is the main difference. Additionally, I have put together a few things to understand few additional aspects. One, the first one, pricing, the fixed one versus the pay as you go. Second is management. Windows 365 is fully managed by Microsoft. So you as a customer, when you opt for Windows 365, you don't have to do a lot of work in the backend because it is already taken care by Microsoft in terms of in the backend on how to deliver that service to you. Wherein if you use Azure Virtual Desktop, you need Azure expertise to manage and maintain consistently, optimize it, security around it, and things like that. Availability of it, I can go on and on, but it requires a lot of expertise from your end to do it. From a user experience point of view, you get a persistent cloud PC with Windows 365 that is always on, dedicated. You don't have to worry about turning it off to save cost because it's a fixed pricing model. You use it or not, you pay that amount. Wherein virtual desktop offers both, but mostly it is a pooled instance because that's where the cost saving comes. So if you are providing the virtualized experience to shift workers, after the shift, what the company does is they bring down the pool of number of instances or they shut down these backend servers to save cost on these resources. And finally, Windows 365 offers the built-in security wherein Azure Virtual Desktop offer a lot of security as well, but you will have to customize or create a lot of these security. You have to define the security posture there. So use all of these ingredients, but mainly if you don't want to talk about all of this, this is too technical for you as a beginner, then stick to the first point. Tell that, hey, Windows 365 is a fixed pricing subscription model and Azure Virtual Desktop is a pay-as-you-go usage-based model. Question number 72. A remote employee needs access to their cloud PC, even in low bandwidth conditions. What are the recommended best practices? So here the interviewer is trying to test your knowledge in terms of how can a user access these Windows 365 and what are the mechanism, things like that. So let me put that point and let's talk about the answer. First, you can tell that use the Edge or remote desktop app. So if somebody is having a problem accessing it via app, they can use the browser, or somebody is having an access with the browser. Like I showed you before, I had some access trouble with the browser, so I immediately switched to the app. So this ensures a stable remote connection. So whatever is working for you, you can use it. Second, you can enable this adaptive graphics mode. This reduces any sort of bandwidth usage while maintaining responsiveness. So when you go to this app or the browser, you can turn on this adaptive graphics mode, which will reduce the bandwidth usage while using it. That is exactly a precise answer what you can give for this low bandwidth condition. So the point number 2 is what you can immediately tell that, hey, you can enable this adaptive graphics mode for low bandwidth conditions. Third is optimize network latency. So this Windows 365 allows you to pick and choose where you want to deploy within the whole Microsoft 365 regions. So to give you an example, if your user is in Australia East and use providing the service from Singapore, then there might be a latency between getting the service from Singapore to Australia East. Wherein in Australia, you can pick the right data center closer to you so that user will not have much latency connecting into these services. So that's how you can frame the answer, by bringing the service closer to where the user is. So let's assume your parent company is in Australia and your remote employees are working from India. Rather than hosting the service in Australia, you can pick a region in India closer to the user, and when a user tries to access it, it comes with less latency for them. They can access the services immediately. Fourth point is use the local resources effectively, so that you can always redirect the printer or USB devices to your local device, so that any sort of that interaction is not going via internet. So if you want to print, you enable the printer redirection. You will be able to print from your local device rather than cloud printing, things like that. So use the combination of all of these points, but make sure to learn the second point, what I said about enabling the adaptive graphics mode, especially for low bandwidth. And the fourth point is also quite important, optimizing the network latency by choosing the nearest Microsoft data center to install or deploy this Windows 365 instance. Question number 73. What are the different Microsoft 365 cloud editions they have? Which business should use? So I haven't talked about this, but there are two different editions you get. Just like Microsoft 365, Windows 365 have two editions as well. By this now you are familiar with this business term. Anytime you hear the business term in terms of licensing, you know that it is applicable only for 300 users. So Windows 365 Business allows for small and medium sized businesses up to 300 users. It is easy for them to set up and no Azure expertise needed. Wherein the second point is the Enterprise Edition. This allows them for anybody who's more than 300 users, and it has integration with the Microsoft Intune for further customization, management, and for deeper configuration. You can have controls in your Azure to define your security, networking, compliance, things like that. So there are two editions. The straightforward answer is two editions: business and enterprise. Business is for small businesses up to 300 users. Enterprise edition will give you much more control and Intune access for anybody who's got more than 300 users. If you want to know more about these editions, click on this link. I'm sure I put that link rightly. I hope it is going to the right place. So here you can see the main difference between what is business plan, what are the SKUs available compared to business versus enterprise. So you can see that on the left hand side, these are the processing, RAM and storage available, how much it costs, depends on the region where you're looking at. And for the enterprise, you can see there'll be slightly higher SKUs available as well. You can see that it goes up to 16 vCPU with 1 TB storage with 64 GB RAM. Wow. So you can have these different use cases, and based on the use case, you can pick and choose which or the combination of these licenses in your organization, and you can assign it to the user. That is quite cool. So that's how you answer this particular question. Question number 74. How does Windows 365 integrate with Endpoint Manager or Intune? So I kind of demonstrated that to you before to showcase what are the capabilities involved. So when you log into these Intune, it allows you to enforce these security policies. These security policies could be applying compliance policies to your cloud PCs, or the conditional access policy or multi-factor authentication policy, which you can apply to these cloud policies. That can be enforced using Intune. Second, automatic update and patch management. So you can go to these cloud PCs, you can deploy patches directly, or you can configure something called auto patch, which Microsoft will automatically patch these for the customer, so they don't have to do a lot of configuration themselves. Third point, very important point. Third point is this is one of the main point. I think you should talk about this first, because Microsoft Intune allow you to deploy application and manage applications which is installed in the cloud PC. So think of cloud PC as your regular laptop or a desktop which you use in your organization. The only thing is that this coming from the cloud or streaming from the cloud like Netflix. but you still need your application which you can use day to day, right? Like the Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook for your email, things like that. So that can be delivered via Microsoft Intune. That can be deployed, that can be changed, that can be uninstalled, they can install the newer version, things like that. All of this is done by Intune. So, or the endpoint manager. So this is the main point you need to talk about first. Sorry that I changed the order into the third, but you should make sure that that should be the first one you are highlighting. That's the main point of Intune. Then using Intune, you will be able to monitor the health of the tool. Like you can check the performance, the latency, the user usage pattern, things like that. All of this can be done in Intune. So Intune is a single place or single pane of glass which you can use to actually go and manage, monitor a lot of things for Intune and deploy stuff as well. So use the combination of all of that, but don't forget the point number 3 about deploying application. That's the best point to get the brownie point. Question number 75. Here, an organization want to enable single sign-on and conditional access for the cloud PCs. How can they configure this on Windows 365? So let me populate the pointers to help you understand. First and foremost, if you want to enable single sign-on, you can enable that in the Azure Active Directory authentication. This enables single sign-on access, or you can go to the Intune portal as well. That will allow you to enable single sign-on. So if a user is signed in to the local device with the same username and password, that user don't have to sign in again to access Windows 365. That is technically single sign-on. So that eliminates the user from signing in multiple times to access the service. Second point is you can configure the conditional access policy to restrict access from user based on identity or device compliance and location, things like that. So that can be done in either Entra ID portal or Azure portal or Intune portal. And finally, you can enable multi-factor authentication just like any other services. We've been talking about this security on every section, and almost all the sections you can see that MFA and conditional access is the main suspects or the main topic. So you know that how important it is for you to understand how to articulate what is multi-factor authentication and what is conditional access and what it is trying to solve. So if you want to read more about it, go and read more. And this information is not sufficient, you can always use Microsoft Learn to learn more about MFA and conditional access. The next section is Microsoft Loop. So Microsoft Loop is again part of the Microsoft 365 suite. How do I explain Loop? Loop is type of like a canvas or like a platform where you can actually put your notes. So it's kind of like OneNotes where you can store your notes, you can refer a lot of things. At the same time, it's kind of like Word as well, wherein you can modify, draft a lot of things. You can simultaneously collaborate with other people on your notes, or you can collaborate on other people's note. It's actually looks futuristic, and I don't use it as much like how I used Word or OneNote, but I'm slowly leaning towards using Loop more because I'm slowly realizing the potential or the power of Loop as a product. So I will show you how it looks like. I don't think I will be able to do a deep dive on it. I'm sure you will be able to find other videos or notes on understanding it much better. But let's take you through a couple of questions, what you can expect on Loop. So obviously the first question is, what is Microsoft Loop? Because that's how we kind of starts all the section. I'm looking into this question. I'm chuckling because I see a pattern here, because right after, I don't know, when I didn't realize when I put together all of these questions, this is how every section is starting. It kind of good that it happened like that, because it allowed me to explain what that product is, then go deeper dive. So I will keep that in mind for future sessions as well. So obviously this interviewer is trying to understand, do you know what is Loop and how does it enhance the collaboration in Microsoft 365? So before I populate the answers, let me see if I can take you to the Loop component and show what it is. All right, so I'm in my lab environment. Let's see if I can go and find Loop. Click on this waffle and it opens all the available apps. You can see that there is Word, Excel, PowerPoint, SharePoint, OneDrive, and all sort of apps, including the admin portal. If you click on more apps, you can go and find Windows 365 app, because that was the last one we learned. So let's see if I can show you that. Click on all apps, and if you scroll down, if you go alphabetically right after whiteboard, yes, you can see there is a Windows 365 app. You can click on it. It takes you to the page where you can launch Windows 365, things like that. So that's not the conversation. We are going to stay on the subject. The subject is loop. So let me click on loop. All right, it tells you what a loop all about. This is what I told before, like it's like a canvas. On the left hand side, it's kind of like OneNote where you can have different projects. Underneath this project, you can, so in loop we call it as workspace, not project. So underneath these workspaces, you can have different pages, and these pages can be anything. It can be of anything as well. So within that page, you would be able to put on information like this, what you're seeing on the screen right now. You can tag people. That's one of the coolest thing what I found about this is, while you're collaborating, you can inform the team about, hey, you are also part of this, you are also part of this. They get a notification, so they can click on it. That takes them to the same canvas what you see here. But at the top, can you see the collaboration? So whenever you see this on loop, that means that these many people, even though it's shared with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, three people are already looking into it, or they are already collaborating in it. They have this open, so that means they are reading, or they are modifying, they are taking notes from it, things like that. So real-time collaboration is a big aspect of this loop component. And within loop itself, you can see that you can have the text format about whatever the content. You can have headings and subheadings and things like that, and then you can attach stuff. Here you can see an example where it is a Word file from your OneDrive is attached. There is an Excel file from OneDrive is attached. There is a quick preview you can see of it. That's quite a neat, handy trick. Additionally, you can see that there is a video, a file. Then you can see that there are neat little ways you can have other components. So what you see over here is a component. It can be shared within teams and stuff like that. So there are a lot of things you can do. At the same time, yeah, I think it is hidden under here. Like you can have these nice little project trackers, or poll sections where you can take vote from people. There are a lot of stuff. Sometimes it can be overwhelming if you're using for the first time. So now you're trying to get an idea, right? So again, one of my colleagues just particularly uses Loop for making sure that she's going through all the tasks, and she assigns us into these components. So she uses it as like her to-do checklist. You can tick mark once that work is done and things like that. You can actually copy this component and share it in Teams. So you can see here an example of the same task list within Loop, copied it, and you paste that in the chat. Anybody within the chat can now interact with it. It's like a livable working canvas document which breathe and work within the chat space. At the same time, it'll automatically edit in the other canvas as well. That is quite cool. Not only chat, in this example, you can email drop that as well. So when you open a component with Loop, it is a live working component. So that is quite cool. Then again, with the creation, it's super simple to create it. Basically go and put a name, and that's how you create it. And then we have these amazing templates, the templates which allow you to pick a template that automatically have all these inbuilt component in it. Depends on what you're trying to create. Or you can basically start from scratch. You say that I want to create a brand new template. Then you put these forward slashes, and that open these context window, which will allow you to add a table or a heading, or like checklist and task mark and things like that. And of course, you can use Copilot within Loop. Right, so that on a super high level, what is Loop? If I log in to my environment, I don't think you will see anything in this demo, but I do have quite a lot of Loop component in my day-to-day work environment. So here you can go to my workspace, and you don't have anything. So if I want to create this Loop component, I can give a heading. I can put forward slash that allow me to either put in a lot of stuff here, like a table of content and things like that. And let's see if we can create a component, create a loop component. So this is what I talked about, the component, and within that I can come in here, I can forward slash, and I can create a table. I can put test, and here in this I can change to a different type. The second column I want to change it to something else. Let's see how to change it. Okay, change the column type. I want to change it on the voting. So now you know that there is a voting button. Now if I go and copy this component, just the component itself, and that link is copied. Now I can go to my teams, go to chat, pick this user, and I can share this component with the user. Now if you notice, when you share a loop component, it goes as it is. So now I have pasted it. If I log in as the other user, they will see this live component. It's not like how you share a Word document or an Excel file. They can interact with it. So they can go inside it, they can change the word at the same time. I will be able to see who is working on this particular component and things like that. That's quite cool. Like I can simultaneously modify this. Hey, can you please? So I didn't have to even go to the loop to do any modification. So I just told, hey, can you please provide your input? Now if I go back to the loop component, if I close this, you can see that that is automatically updated. So it's pretty real time. The extent of how much you can use it and how are you extending the full capability, it boils down to are you really understanding all the capability which comes with it? Do you know how to effectively use it and things like that? So just have a play around with it. I want to quickly show the templates as well. So you click on template gallery. It allows you to pick a different template. Either for it, are you trying to create a loop component for team discussion sort of thing, or are you trying to create it for a project related activity, or do you want to create it for a brainstorm activity, or it has this Kanban board and stuff like that which you can use to track a lot of activities. This Kanban board you can come in here and view as a board. That is quite cool as well. So I do have Kanban board in my work loop component as well. So this is quite cool. I don't want to spend more time here. You kind of understood what it does with my limited knowledge. Let's go back to the question. Now if I go and populate it, so now that you have understood what loop component is on a high level, now let me see if I can help you answer this question. So first and foremost, you need to answer that, hey, Microsoft Loop is a collaborative workspace that allows teams to co-create, organize, and track project in real time. You have seen all these examples I talked about. So you just need to articulate in a nice format. Then other key points which you can use is like you can talk about the loop component. That is exactly what I shown you before. So see if you can articulate that loop component in a nice format. So how can you talk about it? You can tell that, hey, loop components are these dynamic components which you can create within the loop page. It could be either a table, it could be a list, it could be a task. When you copy and share with somebody, that syncs across the applications like Teams or Outlook or OneNote. Because I only shown you an experience in Teams, it's exactly the same. If you open a new email and put the loop component in, it is going to act that dynamic as what we have seen within the Teams. So it is as vibrant and gives you the real-time updation and things like that. So that is quite cool. So explain and include this ingredient of loop component. Second, talk about the workspace. I kind of showed you when you start with the loop, first you start with the workspace. So workspace is nothing but a central hub where the team can come in and organize your ideas, document, and task. It's just like your primary notebook or whatever you call it. It's like the cover of your notebook or things like that. Then you can have separate chapters or pages within that. Then we have the loop page. So loop page is what we have created within a workspace. I just created a random page. When you try to create it, it asks you, do you want to create using a template or do you want to create using a blank page? And once you decide that, then what can you do? It is just like a canvas that you can use it for brainstorming or taking notes or project taking, things like that. So take your mind, use your mind for imagination, and if you can come up with a better response or an answer, use that. Don't just listen to me. And the final thing is real-time syncing. So what I would do is I will talk about loop component first and real-time syncing second. I think these two are, for me, one of the top features of loop, why I would use this rather than talking about workspaces and pages, because these are just the name for the notebook and the pages or the chapters you put in. It's good to flex your knowledge in terms of telling that, hey, I know these terms within loops and things like that. But for me, number one is the component aspect, number two is the real time editing aspect of loop. So that's how I would use or construct my answer using these ingredients which I talked about. Let's look at question number 77. A marketing team wants to collaborate on a project plan and ensure updates are instantly reflected across Microsoft Teams and Outlook. Which loop feature should you use? I'm sure even without showing the answer, you know which loop what we are talking about. So let me populate the answer. Right. So the correct answer, if you want to exactly go to the answer, the correct answer is loop component. So if the marketing team use loop component and they put all their plan and update and everything within the component and share it with the Teams and Outlook, anybody who is using this will be immediately up to date about all the changes, whatever they are making. So the loop component. So you can talk about, hey, how loop component have the real-time sync functionality. So any changes what anybody from the marketing team is making is in one place and updated everywhere at the same time. So that is first point. Second, you can talk about, hey, they can create this loop component and they can share it in Teams chat or Outlook emails or OneNote without switching this app. So somebody who prefer to work in the Teams get the notification in Teams. Somebody who would like to prefer to work in an email, they can update whatever it is and tell you that they have updated via email. Or somebody who like to keep all the updates in a OneNote, they can get the update in OneNote as well. So it doesn't matter where it is, it's available across multiple places. And finally, you can like flex your muscle memory, saying that, hey, examples of loop components include these task list or the tables or the voting poll or progress trackers. You can come up with anything. It can be a bunch of text in a component as well. So you can put all of that in the loop component. So I'm sure you will be able to answer this without any problem because you have seen the demo, you have heard enough about loop component so far. Let's look at question number 78. So we are doing a deduction. Which of the following statement about loop is false? We are trying to identify the false one. The first statement is loop components sync in real time across Microsoft 365 application. You know it by now. Yes, it does sync with all the application, as loop itself is like a real-time syncing collaboration canvas. Second statement is loop requires an internet connection to function. 100% right, because loop as it is require you to have an internet connectivity unless you have an app which dedicatedly using, even if the functionality will be limited, but it does require you to have an internet connectivity because it's a real-time collaboration canvas. Third statement is loop pages can only be accessed within Teams. That is wrong. We have seen an example about me sharing it in Teams, but that doesn't mean you can't share it in Outlook and things like that. See, let me see if I can show you that. So let's go back to that example. Let me open a new email and send it to someone. Amber, vote please. And if I go back and paste the loop component, you can see that it's a real-time component here. So now I can send this. Amanda can modify whatever or put her own input there. That's pretty much showcases that the third option is the wrong one. So you can access loop component beyond Teams. The final statement is loop workspace help teams organize and track project. That's easy. You can use loop for any sort of collaboration and tracking project, things like that. So let's look at the answer. Yeah, the correct answer is loop pages can only be accessed within Teams, but it can be accessed in Outlook, OneNote, and other places. Loop itself. The next section is Power Platform. This is again like Windows 365, not within Microsoft 365, but it's in the same realm. It works closely. It has a lot of integration. It works hand in hand. Again, this is a subscription-based service, so you pay monthly for using this. Again, within the Power Platform, there are a bunch of products which you can use for different activities, things like that. So it's pretty difficult to explain for a beginner. So let me see, with these three questions I will be able to paint any picture in your mind about what it is. Let's look at the first question in the Power Platform. So our question number 79. So obviously the first question is, what is Power Platform and how do these components work together? So for me, it's very difficult to show because these are a bunch of apps. Unless I go into that app and show you what it does, it's very difficult and lame. So what I will show, I'm trying to do is, I'm going to populate the answer. I'm going to help you understand how you can articulate it and give you an idea what's included within the Power Platform. First and foremost, you'll help the interviewer understand, hey, Microsoft Power Platform is a low code, no code suite. So what is low code means? That means with minimal coding knowledge, you can build something. That is low code. Or no code means it has templates and template type like GUI interfaces which you can use like plug and play and move things around and create application. That is what no code means. So by these two instances itself, you can understand that who it is catered towards. It is not for pro developer. It is not for somebody who's got like heaps of development expertise. This is democratizing that particular skill set in a for a broader audience. So using this platform, many employees itself who are not super developer, as long as they have logic and reasoning in their mind and they know what they're trying to solve, they can pretty much take the Power Platform as a application, use low code or tiny bit of coding or no code option, which you can use these logics and other triggers and actions available to put together a flow to automate or help business automate process. So that is Power Platform is, and within that you can use that to analyze data or build application. So that's how you put this. So I'm going to read one more time. So Power Platform is a low code, no code suite of tools that help any business to automate processes or analyze data and build application. This is how I will put together. Even if you don't exactly put together like this, I don't want you to by heart the answer, but just kind of get these 2-3 key points. One is it's a low code, no code platform. Second, it can help business automate processes by using this tool set, or it can use to analyze data, or it can be used to build application, not like super heavy monolith type of complex application, but tiny application, but yet so powerful to do some automation, to fix some business logics, or like reduce some mundane task what you're doing, or time saving task by having that automation flow, etc. And within that, what are the things available? First one is Power BI. So I just want to get it across first because we talked about analyzing data, right? That's where Power BI ties in. So the Power BI is another component within the Power Platform. It can be bought as a standalone as well or add-on, which helps these businesses analyze. You can use it for deep analytics, for creating interactive reports and dashboard, things like that. So any businesses will have a lot of metrics they have want to go through. I'm sure like if you are not the one who is go through the metrics, somebody within your organization, at least the finance department, they will have some metrics they want to go through, like a big dashboard with lots of insight or data coming in from bunch of places. This Power BI as a tool will help you put together and make sense of the data. So without making sense of that data, it's just bunch of numbers and some random words. But with this, you will have a lot of parameters, lot of these drop down menus to make this data in a meaningful format, so you can make intelligent business decision out of it. That's the ultimate goal of using this tool, right? Using this tool to make some decisions, key metrics, to find out how things are going. Is it in the right direction? Do we need different attention towards whatever we are looking at, things like that? So Power BI helps you with that, with these interactive reports and dashboards. You can create these dashboards and publish it to any place, like in a website or other places, things like that. So that is Power BI. Second is Power Apps. So we talked about these low code, no code. So that's where the Power Apps is going to come. So the Power App is where you can go in and create these low code app development, so that you can build custom business application with a lot of logics and things like that. So either you can choose a no code option where you don't have any knowledge in code, or you don't want to use any code, using the existing logics and the templates available to solve that business problem, or you use a tiny bit of little bit of coding knowledge what you have to build this application. That is Power App. Then we have Power Automate. So that's where the business automate functionality comes in. So in within that suite, there is another product or offering called Power Automate. That is what you're going to use to create this workflow automation. So you create this app. What if you create 2 or 3 different apps using Power App, and now you want all of this to integrate together and work like as an ad hoc automation task based on a logic, things like that. You can define all these workflow automation within Power Automate and connect these apps and services to streamline a particular process. So you come in here, either you use the app which you build within the Power App, and then you integrate with Power Automate workflow to make it interact with something else to streamline the automation. Or you can pretty much take any other app which is available and see if you can use Power Automate to create a workflow to streamline your processes, things like that. So that is Power Automate. And then we have Power Virtual Agent. I think you can use the Power Platform itself, like anywhere you go, except the Power BI, to create these virtual agents. These agents are nothing but a chatbot or a thing which you are designing, which you can interact with it, and which has some AI powered embedding in the backend, and which you can use it for either generative AI interaction or other AI powered customer interaction, which you can add topics and actions. You can build in behind of it. But long story short, the Power Virtual Agents are nothing but a chatbot which you can develop within the platform, which you can share within your internal resources, or you can share it in an external site, or you can publish it in a SharePoint or publish it in your Teams, things like that. So these tools work together by integrating with your Microsoft 365, your Dynamics 365, and other third-party services as well. So I'm not an expert in this Power Automate or Power Platform in any shape or form, but there are a lot of integrations available with third-party tools. So if you are somebody who is working on this, you already know much more than me. If you are quite new like me, please go and read about this Power Platform. It is quite fascinating, and if you find that as an interesting area, just elevate yourself from the beginner status of Microsoft 365 and go into this branch. That is one other thing I think I'm trying to do here, not only helping you crack these interviews, but once you get the job, you know that this is like a vast area. IT field itself is like a super vast area. Within that, Microsoft is like a huge company with so many products. You can actually specialize in one product and you can spend your entire life in there. So while doing this, while learning this, you're exposing a lot of different technology, and while learning it, you don't have to stick to what you learned. Within that, you can pick up different branches. Like the Power Platform could be one branch, endpoint management could be another branch, Microsoft 365 administration is another branch, security is another branch. So you pick and you specialize on it and you get better at it. And while doing that, I hope you enjoy what you're doing in the long run, and you hope you make enough money to support yourself and the family and all the desires what you have. So that's the whole intention. Right, enough blabbering. Go to the next question. Let's look at question number 80. So in this question, we are going to look at a company wants to automate. Okay, that's a keyword. Approval workflows. Okay, that's a keyword. Approval workflows for employee leave requests without using complex coding. And which Power Platform tool should they use now and how? All right, so I kind of given you all the answers in the first question itself, because I only have 3 questions each on these topics like loop and Power Automate and other following things coming. So that's why I spend enough time explaining that in the first question. So now, without even me telling you know the answer to the question. So let me populate it so that you know what I mean. First and foremost, the answer is Power Automate. You kind of guessed it, because the moment they use the word automate, in the previous question we learned about Power BI, that is for the reporting, Power App for creating this app, Power Automate is the automation workflow, and then we talked about Power Virtual Agents, that is for creating this chatbot kind of an agent. So your company can use Power Automate first of all to create this workflow. So how do you do that? So that is a little tricky to help you explain to a beginner. So obviously these will make sense. That's how I put together this particular flow. First of all, you will be going and creating a triggering flow because it's a workflow, right? A triggering flow is something which with the kind of thing what we are trying to solve here is the employee leave request. So whenever there is a leave request, you need to automatically approve it or reject it or send that flow to your manager. So that's the logic we need to use in our head. So trigger flow is nothing but you can use that trigger like the employee submitting a leave request. How are they submitting it? Is it via an email? Is it via Power App? Or is it via forms? So once you capture that, then you can actually use that to send an approval to the subsequent person. So who is going to approve it? Is it the manager? Where does that person want to approve it? That's the question you're going to ask. Is it in an email format? Is it in a Teams notification? Things like that. And based on that business logic, you will create a sending approval either on Teams or either on SharePoint, either on Outlook, things like that. That's like the sending for approval. Third logic, what you're going to use is processing these requests. Once it is approved, how do you want this to be handled at the back end? Once the leave is approved by the manager, do you want that flow to trigger anything within your HR system or anything within your SharePoint list? And if it is rejected, how do you want to notify the user? Do you want to automatically create a trigger as an email to the user, or do you want to create that as a notification in the Teams app, or do you want to populate that in a website, things like that? So again, that comes down to the logic. So the point I'm trying to make is this is like a complicated question. In a real life, it's a complicated question. You have to sit with the business or the person who is proposing this to sit and double click on each of these aspects to lay out a huge plan so that it is super simple when you create it. So creation process is super simple, but you have to capture all of that requirement in the back end by double clicking on each of these aspects. And the final bit here is integrating with your Microsoft 365. So once you create all these logic, you're going to automate an email notification or a record update in the list or HR system by integrating your Microsoft 365. So when you use this Power Automate tool, you have all of the tools in your disposal to make all of this happen. I know that's a long-winded answer, but I really hope if you're a beginner, you don't get this exact question, or even if somebody's asking the question, if you're a beginner, they have some consideration listening to you on how you're structuring it. If I am interviewing a beginner and ask this question, I would potentially look at how their brain works in terms of tackling this question. Even if they don't tell me exactly what tool they are using, if you are using the logic of these, what I said, I would give you a pass on that question. Yes, you kind of get the logic, and once you are experienced, you will figure out how to do it. I know that how your brain works and how you think, things like that. So use those points to answer that question.